first thing I want to talk about is the Sitecore CLI and using it for serialization in our build and release process, deployment process. So do we think this is pretty much a straight up no-brainer to go to this now and get rid of Unicorn, or is there any reason to consider keeping Unicorn around?
At least for now, we should still be considering Unicorn, and unless we feel, we do our tests and then it figures out that Sitecore CLI is performing as expected on serialization and deserialization, I think I wouldn't switch to it yet because this is the first release of that.
Does anybody have any idea how the communication works with the Sitecore CLI? Did a console application that you give it an IP address and a port or something like that, or is it going through HTTP as well?
It lets you log into the system, it seems. So you provide login credentials and it will let you log into the console, Sitecore console, and let you serialize, deserialize items.
But it's not PowerShell.
I don't know.
It's a CLI.
And there is an additional plugin or something like that for Visual Studio also that is released that lets you sync items, and that goes in tandem with the Sitecore CLI, I think.
Is it a CLI for doing anything other than serialization of items?
No, as much as it says it's only for serialization and deserialization.
Yeah, because I'm guessing that they think this is going to be their platform for doing all command line interface and management to the Sitecore system.
No.
Like expanding it in the future to add the ability to, do things like create users and change permissions and.
They already have Sitecore Rocks. I don't know if Sitecore 10 works and supports Sitecore Rocks. I'm pretty sure that they should. But they already have their own API to do that, and basically you can connect remotely and do all the things that you can do through Sitecore Rocks. So
is Sitecore Rocks command line, or is that the plugin in Visual Studio you're talking about?
It's the plugin in Visual Studio, but it's the plugin in Visual Studio that is like their implementation to show the world how you can integrate other systems with Sitecore.
Yeah, I was just explaining, like probably what Christian is saying is right, that they may be looking at a more longer term vision on the CLI, and that's why they named it pretty generic Sitecore CLI and not serialization or any of that. Probably they'll keep on adding more items to this CLI to perform more features, I guess.
You mean that they might want to take over like Sitecore PowerShell modules, their community base?
The Sitecore PowerShell, you'll have to be installed into the Sitecore, right? And then run within Sitecore. But this CLI is outside of Sitecore and letting you log in and do serialization, deserialization.
But what I'd like to see from the Sitecore CLI the ability to execute Sitecore PowerShell modules and get the output out of it.
Right.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that'll be really cool.
But right now, at least from my understanding, the CLI system is only an upgrade or a new version on their previously existing serialization, because it's not like Sitecore didn't have a serialized process. That's how you get packages, right? Packages are items that get serialized and they import.
Yeah, but this is, my understanding is this is different. They're using YML now with this CLI, and the packages is not using that. So this is closer to what Unicorn does functionally.
Right.
Yes, it's closer to Unicorn in that sense, but
it's from the command line, whereas with Unicorn we have to access it through. You have to access it through the HTTP web, but then there's the PowerShell that lets us access it remotely.
Yeah, my point was that it feels, at least right now, based on this, it feels like a first step in order to revamp a feature that they sort of left relegated, that they had before, and simply because they never updated it, other people but other people took over, like Unicorn. Sam, what is his name? Sam Carey's?
Camfiji.
Yeah, he took it over and he expanded, and also the folks on TDS. I don't know if I'm not wrong. TDS
is part of Sitecore now.
It's part of Sitecore right now.
Yeah, maybe they're using that. Yeah, maybe they're trying to integrate whatever they got from TDS, and they're trying to do like the built-in system for this.
Yeah,
it sounds to me like that. And maybe to, well, hopefully this will make it easier to automate it. Because right now you can automate it with Unicorn too, but you have to connect to the web service and do some other steps there. But maybe with this, well, I have to look into it. But
yeah, that's why I was asking how the CLI communicates, because the only reason I don't like the Unicorn is because it's going over HTTP, which when you have long-running, large processes is more difficult, and you've got to basically you're making an HTTP request to the Sitecore server, and then that's serializing to the disk, or reserializing from or serializing from disk. So it's not as direct. So like what I was assuming that the CLI is, you can run the CLI and get the output. It makes a socket connection to the server, and the output comes back down to the CLI, so that wherever you're running the CLI, you can serialize the YML files to the disk on that machine that you're running the CLI, and you're not just basically initiating an HTTP request and having it serialized to the disk on the Sitecore server itself. Do we know how that works yet? The Sitecore CLI works yet?
No, I haven't tested yet.
No.
I was more playing with the prerequisites, like compressing the license, all of those things.
Yeah, because if it's just doing the same thing that we're doing with Unicorn, where we're just triggering an HTTP request that then does everything on the server and pulls the data out on the server, then I don't see what the benefit is over Unicorn, other than the CLI probably gives you more granular control than Unicorn does. Unicorn is, you have to have the config files up on Unicorn up on the server in order for Unicorn to do what you want it to do in terms of which areas it's serializing and which ones it's not serializing. So maybe you can do more of that configuration directly from the command that you're running on the CLI.
Yeah, I don't know right now what is the big advantage from Unicorn to CLI, or basically CLI. There is a question there, like if they are just right now feature-wise at the same level as Unicorn, is it worth it to switch? Because you want to be on the next release when this gets more features, right?
Right.
That's the bet that you will be making if you're moving to CLI.
Yeah, one of the things they should do, I don't know, well, right now it seems it's just used for serialization, but in the future, if they expand functionality for CLI, one thing that I think would be very useful is for any environment like CDs or processing servers that they don't have the actual UI. For example, you could do operations like make a shotgun.
Right.
That would be really useful, especially when you're debugging stuff.
Yeah, this does say something about remote Sitecore instance, but we'll have to just test it and see how it works and whether it's making HTTPS request to the instance or is it doing some other way.
If that comes true, that will be the first step into making Sitecore truly headless. Because if that's the case, then you can have those instances being completely headless, where you don't have anything there, only the data, and that's it. Right. That's a faraway feature, at least, or we're reading too much into Sitecore CLI at the moment. We're putting our hopes and dreams in CLI.
Yeah, I think that's where they're going, though. I mean, at least with Nick there pushing it, I feel like he's the one that's going to try to make sure that it's doing more and more from the command line and less from requiring the console.